Sometimes when we're too calculated with everything, we actually screw it up. And there's a verse that says, many are the plans in a man's heart, but the Lord establishes his steps.
There's certain things that you just can't ignore.
Yeah.
The fact that there's a higher power at work with you.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen, it doesn't even make sense for you to still be living out in LA.
Absolutely not.
But there's a ton of things that have happened in your favor because what you're driven by, your passion and your love for what you do, that you've been out here for like 8 years doing this.
It's not that God can't do it or help you do it. It's, do you believe that it can actually happen?
Feel that emotion. Don't become that emotion.
Yeah.
So, okay, feel it. You're going to feel frustrated. You're going to feel angry. You're going to feel upset, depressed, stressed, whatever it might be. Feel it. Okay, don't become it. Because whatever it is you do, you have to build a foundation.
Yeah.
It has to be a solid foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Think it through. Like, okay, this is what I do. This is what I love doing. I'm going to do it consistently.
Don't crawl in like that.
I'm not falling into the abyss of this couch again.
It's not that difficult of an entry.
Okay, listen. I appreciate the couch. It's comfortable, but there's a section in it where you just fall in.
There is a section. It's
and
called,
I fell in earlier. I'm not trying to fall in again.
I'm glad you got out. I left all my notes in the other room, so we're going
This is how
off
I'm going to
top.
stare at you the entire time.
I hope not, because I'll probably exit. I might exit. How you doing today?
Doing good. Actually, just starting my day. No, actually, I woke up early for this, believe it or not. It's 11:31 in the morning, and this is normally when I'd be waking up.
That's early?
For me?
11:31?
Do you realize my daughter woke up at 1 in the morning. Then she woke up again at 4 in the morning, and then she was just up.
Goodness.
As far as I'm aware, she's still up.
Yeah, for sure.
I just left.
That's got to be tough, that whole sleeping schedule.
Yeah, I mean, at first it was. Now I'm used to it.
All right, I got a question for you to start this whole thing off.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's a real question.
Mm-hmm.
All right. How are you doing? But don't just give me the quickest, whatever you think. I want you to really take a moment.
You want the scenic route.
Think about it. Yeah, give me the scenic route. How are you doing right now? Like, you might have processed it. You might have not processed it.
No, that's one of those questions that's like, the more you ask it, the more. What was that I seen where they're like, how are you doing? And then by like the third one, they're like bawling. Like, no,
Exactly.
honestly, how I'm doing, I'm honestly doing great. I'm happy with the space that I'm in my life right now. I'm happy with who's in my life right now. And, so I'm just happy. I focus on positivity and, I'm not naive or unaware of what's going on in the world or whatever. But I know I need to focus on things that are like, you got to look out for your own mental, and I just feel like by focusing on my family, my loved ones, my close ones, and my world, and the positivity, I feel like, you're good.
Yeah, for sure. What's something you're most excited about in life right now?
Man, it's weird because having a kid will change your perspective on everything. There's probably a time where I'd say something more career focused, like, just because I just did a short film. And I'm actually really excited about that. Don't get me wrong. It's in the editing room right now with the editor, and we hope that it makes a good festival run. Mm-hmm. But having a kid will change your perspective. And man, like now, I used to think parents were exaggerating when they're like, because I can't stand going to theme parks. And like, I was like, why would you ever do this? Who cares if it's for your kids? And parents are always like, well, it's for the kids. If they're happy, I'm happy. But now having a kid, she's almost 1 year old. And I see the stuff that makes her happy. Yeah. Like we get her a little like stuffed doll toy or whatever. And her face, and she gets so excited. I'm like, oh man, that makes me feel good.
That's why babies have so many toys. That makes sense now.
Yes, like it's so, yeah, man.
You see their face light up, and you got to keep giving them more and more toys to see that reaction.
Exactly. And it's that reaction you chase. It's like a high.
Yeah.
So every time you see that kid happy. So that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about all the little milestones, although that she got a little tooth poking through the top, and I'm excited to see that. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
they start doing things so fast. Like I've never been around babies this up close in my life until this year and like late last year. And like standing and crawling and walking and running, like how fast it happens. Like they'll start walking and then like, no, they're walking. Like
that's what I'm saying.
blown.
And it's crazy because I for some reason, and my wife is like, well, how long did you think it would take? And in my mind, like I know a 1-year-old is probably walking or getting close to walking or whatever. But in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna be swaddling this baby and like rocking her to sleep. She's gonna be sleeping. I thought like for some reason my mind was like years out before she's walking.
Yeah.
Which if
That's
I really
hilarious.
no, but if I actually sat and thought about it, I'd be like, no, of course it's gonna be in a few months.
Right.
But a few months happens so fast.
Yeah.
Like I swear we just brought her home from the hospital and now she's like running around like chasing her. I'm like, man, you're really running. 10 months old. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of a few months happens so fast. I was talking about this the other day, how like 1 year in LA feels like 3. I feel like you just do so much all the time that it's like, wow, it's only been a year. Like, you know, and we've been homies for a very long time now. So so definitely with all you do in a year, it feels like I've known you forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's that fast paced life.
Yeah.
You learn so much. You get a lot of life experience out here.
Yeah, and I want to tell them a little bit about how we met, and let's talk about our roots. Let's talk about our roots, about shooting skits and everything, and how we met. What do you remember about that?
If I'm not mistaken, it was that X-Men video that I did, the one where we all had like powers.
Oh, that
wasn't when we met, but that was like
no, that day. It's so funny to me. I left that day. We were shooting in like one of the hottest days of that summer. And I sweated out my pants.
Bro.
And after you shot my scene, I drove home 20 minutes, changed, and came back to keep filming.
Don't say you sweated out your pants. I remember you were wearing that stupid salmon shirt that I can't stand. Jalen used to have this salmon shirt.
That's your camera.
Oh, no, I know. I was looking for the Shan. I'm not looking for my camera.
He's looking at the wall for his audience cam.
Bro, also, no, I was looking for the Shan. I was looking for you. I was telling you about this salmon shirt that Jalen has because you've upped his wardrobe. But
a little fresher now.
Yeah, he had this horrendous salmon shirt, and I'll find the video just so you can see it. But it was like one of the hottest days. We're filming outside, and you had that thick salmon shirt on, and apparently sweated out your pants.
Yeah,
which is
I didn't tell anybody, but it was bad. I didn't have a lot of wardrobe. I had just moved out, a few months before that, and I had 2 suitcases that I came out here with. So I had a solid 10 shirts, 10 pants, and all of my wardrobe at that time, I was trying to cover up my weight. I was wearing big stuff so you couldn't notice how big I was. So I'm wearing these big old thick shirts and these big jogger pants, and they were so like hot too. They were not breathable at all. So like my wardrobe was not great.
That was during the time everybody was filming on their phones, and I was pulling up with a DSLR camera. No one else had like a camera, and me and my brother Mark were like, "Oh, it looks like a movie," because we're filming on it was just a 50 millimeter, and we were filming at 24 frames a second. Yeah, and we were the only ones filming with that, and everybody else was like thinking we were dumb. But it took us a little bit longer to film with it. But now you see how everyone's. I don't want to say I started it.
No, honestly,
but and I'm pretty sure you were there when I was getting made fun of. I'm not going to name drop who it was, but somebody well known in the social media community, we were filming skits and everything, was at the house where we're filming at and was dogging me for pulling up. Oh, you're shooting vines with a camera. Yeah. Oh, you're making Instagram videos with a camera, and was dogging me. And
that's hilarious.
Everyone doing it.
So that's how me and Matt connected. So everybody was trying to shoot Instagram skits. This is right when Vine is like starting to die. Everybody's starting to navigate from Vine to Instagram. And so we'd be hanging out with all these content creators, all these influencers who are shooting their content for the day. Everybody's shooting on phones. Everybody's, they're meeting up like 20 deep at somebody's apartment complex in the commons area, just like trying to figure out what to shoot that day that's going to be funny and viral. And Matt would pull up with his camera, like to have quality, like movie-like skits, like, not just make some comedy skit like everybody else does it, but like, like Key and Peele, like we can do our own show. We can do like dope quality stuff. Like, so Matt would ask me, like, do you want to man the camera? You want to, for this video? And I went over there and we would shoot. And I had like a pretty natural eye because I really wasn't like a shooter at that point.
I thought you were at the time. So
yeah, well, I moved out here to do that. Yeah. But I wasn't like seasoned.
And I think I found out like a few years later, you told me like, yeah, I didn't shoot. And I thought this whole time, I thought you just knew cameras. So I was like, oh yeah, this guy, Jalen. I thought you were like Samoan.
That's hilarious.
Jalen had this long hair.
Talk about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, you had this long hair, this underbeard, the beard that only grew under your chin. No, but I was just like, oh, this cool Samoan guy. And I found out he's just a kid. And he's not Samoan. I was like, oh my God.
I found out his true ethnicity. I found out he's just a kid. That's what he found out about me.
And not Samoan.
Not Samoan. Absolutely. No, that's hilarious. Yeah, no, my uncle he's a filmmaker and a photographer in Omaha, and he had taught me the basics like aperture, shutter speed, ISO, but like as far as vision and framing, it just was like, this just makes sense to do it this way. And so we were just shooting and grinding every day, just doing a lot of content, and it was super fun. So that's how our bond started. Matt would sometimes hit me up at like midnight and be like, you want to go shoot a sketch? And we would pull up to some random spot in Burbank, shooting comedy skits in an alley so we didn't have to get a film permit for where we were shooting at. And there's raccoons around.
And mind you,
sketchiness going on.
We were not getting paid. Nobody was getting paid to do this. No one was making any money.
No.
It was all just a bunch of, I was going to say kids, but we're definitely grown. Like just a bunch of grown people running around the streets of North Hollywood at night in alleyways, filming. And I would write scripts. I would print them off.
Yeah, for sure.
We'd have scripts. Just wild.
Scripts and everything. And that's what I want to talk about is, speaking of, we were not paid. We were working at it like we were. We were putting in the hours and the time. And that's the thing that I noticed about you is like, you had this work ethic and this drive and this passion for it. And I'm starting to laugh because it was like by any means necessary, we're getting these shots and we're shooting this thing. You know what I mean? Like you have to call in favors, like asking people to be actors in your stuff and asking people to open up their home for different shots. And so when we were in there, you didn't want to waste anybody's time. So you'd be like, guys, we got to get this shot.
Man.
Come on.
That anxiety was real. I would be stressing.
Oh yeah. People got hurt a couple times. Oh, man. You know what I'm talking about?
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, we can talk about it.
Man, Ty, I'm so sorry to this day,
you
man.
know it's about Ty. For sure, because we're doing all our own stunts. So, we're doing a comedy video. We have this guy who just gets kicked right between the legs, kicked square in the groin. And we're trying to fake this shot to make it look real. And Matt's like, come on, guys, we got to get this shot. It's like 1 a.m. Like, we got to hurry it up. And Ty's trying not to get nailed. So he's like, hey, like,
Ty's the guy who's getting kicked in the spot.
So Matt's rushing us. Mind you, Matt's the one kicking. So Matt's rushing us like, all right, Jalen, let's just get this shot. So I'm filming, I'm getting ready. And Matt just launches this kick and gets full-blown contact with Ty.
Before that even, and Ty was like so nervous. He was like, let me just put my hands down there to block. And I was like, no. I was like, bro, trust me. I'm not going to hit you. Like, you're good. I'm not going to hit you. Like, I have control. I know what I'm doing. Like, come on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And we're in Marlon's house. So we're at Marlon's place and he's getting sleepy. And like, it's mad late. I'm like, don't worry. I got control. I can do this. You don't need to put your hands there. And then we call action, and I cock back and just whack.
From that point on, anytime we shot something when Matt was rushing us, he'd be like, trust me, I'm not going to do that. No, we're not trusting you. We shot something recently.
I was going to say even recently.
I get talking about it.
All right, so we shot something like 6 months ago. Mind you, this has been some time since I've even had to film with real people. I've been making content. And since the pandemic, I was like, yeah, I'll just draw my people in there. So I started making content with cartoon characters. That's where it all started.
Yeah.
So like some years go by and it's just me and cartoon characters. And I'm like, I'm going to dust off the old Matthew real quick and film with real people again. So I wrote a sketch about a guy in a parking garage who ends up getting in a fight because of a parking space. And my boy Danny pulls up. He's a stunt coordinator. And so he's like, yeah, I'll help you out with the fight. And he's like teaching me all these tricks. He's like, yeah, when you fall, you want to roll. You want to do like this.
Yeah.
He had like this back brace thing where it's like, you could throw him into a pole.
It's not going to hurt him, yeah.
Yeah, and he was like wearing elbow pads, knee pads. but I was like,
he needed more coverage.
I was like, I got a Sparta kick you in the chest. I was like, but we can fake it. Like, I don't actually have to touch you. I got control. He was like, yeah, no, like, it's all good. Just
where the confidence comes from.
Yeah, he was the one who told me, he's like, no, you can actually like kick me. Like, just like, I know how to absorb. Because he also does professional wrestling as well.
Yeah.
Danny Limelight, great guy. And he was like, no, you can actually kick me. I'm like, all right, man, when we called action.
I don't know how you kick that high.
I was in the zone, man. I think when I just like lock in, I don't know, man. I was gonna say if you give me permission, if you tell me it's all good, but Ty definitely did not.
No.
I forced that one. This dude, Danny, he was like, no, I'm good. Like, I'm a professional. I kicked him in the throat. Like,
Square in the throat.
It was a Sparta kick, pow, right to the throat.
It's not funny because I feel bad that he got kicked in the throat, but it's just Matt's reputation is ridiculous with this. It's the confidence and the rushing. It's ridiculous. Oh. But you can't knock the hustle and the drive. Matt's always had a lot of hustle and drive. And that's what I want to talk about with you today too, is about how do you maintain vision for what you're after? And where does that come from? Because that's been one of the greatest things I've seen about you from when we were just running around shooting at whatever time, not making any money, just straight up. We were just trying to make it and do whatever we were doing to like, you never gave up.
Yeah.
Like you always maintain vision. Like this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. And you always put in the work to do that. So like, where does that drive come from?
Man, that's a great question. I think because my dad growing up, my dad always had, like he had this video camera and he encouraged us just being kids, like just being goofy and making like home videos of us, like being characters and stuff. And we would always watch like In Living Color. And like I was very influenced by Jim Carrey, the Wayans brothers, Jamie Foxx, like Will Smith. These are people that I was extremely influenced by. Mm-hmm. And my mom was always in acting. She had done acting classes. She was in plays. And so like that was always like a love of mine, but also just all things creativity. Mm-hmm. So if I'm to draw from my childhood, I just think encouraging creativity in people. So it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't mean you have to be an actor or you have to be a content creator or whatever. Just if you're creative, because I would always draw. Mm-hmm. We would make our own comic books. I had pipe cleaners because we didn't have toys like that. Well, I mean, we had toys, but not many. Mm-hmm. And a lot of my friends would have the latest cool Batman toys or whatever. But my dad worked at the school as well, mm-hmm. where I went, and so he would get.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he was in law enforcement, and then he also had like another job where he worked at the school.
Okay.
And so he would get pipe cleaners from the art class. Mm. So me and my brother Mark would make toys out of pipe cleaners. Like,
oh, it's funny.
Yeah, so it's like you're really working this creative muscle to try to like make. Oh, I want a toy that looks like Wolverine. Yeah. I'm just gonna make Wolverine. And a pipe cleaner, you can bend those in all directions. So I'm like, this is way better than a toy you could buy at the store. so I think. To bring it back around, is like I just think the drive comes from just that creativity and always keeping that alive. Because as you get older and you start working, you get into the workforce and you start paying bills, things start taking more importance in your mind. And mm-hmm. I just think keeping that childlike mentality alive to an extent. You don't want to be too immature, but
No, for sure, that all makes sense. See, that makes sense. It's almost like something you just have to do. Like you just love to do it. You love being creative. You grew up being creative. But I also see the fact that like when you come out to LA, you're trying to make it as an actor. You're trying to make it with some dream you have.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it looks like the roads are closed. It looks like the doors are shut. And the road looks too tough to actually get to where you are dreaming of getting to sometimes. And after being out here for 8 years, like how long has it been? About 8 years?
Yeah, 8 years. I think next year's gonna be 9.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, after being out here and we're around the same time for how long we've been out here. After being out here for that long, there's times where you're like, is it actually gonna happen? And and then it's like, why do you keep pushing through? Because a lot of people would give up.
Yeah.
Maybe I just won't be successful. Maybe it's not for me. Or maybe I just can't do this or can't reach this. But even in the lowest times, I'm sure you had those thoughts, but you never stopped.
Yeah. It's faith, really. It's just like, that's what it is, just faith. Like you have faith that you can achieve the goal you're going for. Mm. And, don't get me wrong. Like, yeah, we had times like I saw people in my circle become real successful, and people I'm filming with every day. And I start seeing the cars they start driving, and, you know, and the clothes they're wearing, the fact that they're more known. And then they might unfollow me, and I'm like, dang, man, like, okay, they, you know, not that has ever really mattered to me, but it's one of those things that I would notice, because I'm like, okay, like you're there now, like I get it, okay. I wouldn't even be upset, but I'm just like, dang, I'm seeing you're growing, and maybe you got to clean up your image. Maybe it's like, I just don't identify with those people anymore. Like, you know, you guys are still making skits, and I'm on TV shows, whatever it might be. I just started noticing that, and I'm like, dang, what's the difference? And I would be upset, but also like, I just have faith in me. Yeah. My mentality has always, I'm very competitive, extremely competitive. And my thing is, I won't be outworked. Yeah. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Kevin Hart. And Kevin Hart is somebody that I have so much respect for. I don't know him personally, but I see his work ethic, and I'm like, man, this guy has it all. He has everything. He could be done if he wanted to. Why is he still, you know, why is he still working as hard as he is? And I respect that, because I'm like, man, like, you hustle. But if you were to tell me, all right, you got to outwork Kevin Hart, I'm like, all right, like, I'm not going to back down from that. Yeah. And I feel like everyone should be that way. When people are like, oh, this rapper said he's the best rapper in the world, and you don't even know who they are, they're like, how dare you say you're the best rapper in the world? No, you better say if that's your craft, if that's what you love to do, say you're the best at it. Yeah. Say you're the best at it until you believe it. Yeah. I believe I'm the best at what I do, but I don't, you know, there's a difference in being like, I believe I'm the best at what I do, and telling everyone I'm the best at what I do. There's a difference in that. And I just truly believe that I'm the best at what I do, and I will work as hard as I need to prove it.
And do you believe that for yourself, so that you always have the belief to keep yourself going? Or do you just believe that nobody is better than you at what you do?
No, I think it's, first of all, I'm also, I have self-awareness as well. I know there are people that are way more skilled, that have put in way more time, you know. It's just, you have to have some level of like, man, what is it? Like, you got to be a little insane. Yeah, delusion. Yes, yeah, you got to have some level of delusion to think that you can even participate at that level.
This is good. Yeah, that's a good concept, because I feel like I started to get that this year. Not necessarily a delusion, but more of a confidence of a why not me? Because I've always felt, you know, talented or gifted in certain areas, or felt like I could do certain things. But I would look at other people who are already in those positions that I felt like I could be in, and I wouldn't see myself just doing it. I wouldn't ask people for help. I wouldn't just step into those roles, because I really didn't have the confidence to just be there. And this podcast, even, you know, what's going on right now, how it's being shot, like all of this was just like, you know what, we're just doing it now. Like, I'm not going to keep sitting around and thinking, you know, I could do that too, but not doing it, not stepping out. And so you do have to have a little bit of like, you know, like, why not me? Like, I can do that too.
And there's a few things with that. So you already know what I always tell you because you've talked about doing it. I'm glad you're doing it, man. I want you to keep doing this as much as you can, as often as you can. Like, you know, all that ever exists is right now. Like, don't worry about where you'll be in a few months. Don't worry about where you were, whatever. Like, all that exists is right now. Right now, you can do this. So while you can keep doing it. Yeah. Because I always tell you consistency. I'm like, just do the thing. Do what you can with what you have. Right? If these cameras and these mics go away tomorrow,
still do it.
You'll still have your smartphone. I mean, I'm safe to say you'll still have that. Yeah. And if you don't have your smartphone, you got me. I got other smartphones. Like, I got, you know, there's ways to do what you can with what you have. And I'm always saying that to people, because, you know, more than anything, when I started, like my YouTube, I was just filming on the front camera of my iPhone 8 at the end of like a selfie stick. Yeah. And that's how I was doing it, and build an audience, whatever. But I just did that every single day, and I'll still do that. I go home and I'll film videos. If I don't feel like using my camera, I'll use my phone, because there's like something about like the root, doing what you can with what you have, and not having an excuse of like, oh no, I need the latest. I have to do this. You know, like, stay consistent. But there's another thing too. I would say also detach yourself from the expectation of any outcome.
That's good.
Like, if you detach yourself from any expectation, you're going to be able to just live in the moment and be happy. Because if this is what you love doing, bro, whatever it is, if this is what you love doing, when you do it, you're having fun, you're not worried about making money. People who are like, I gotta make millions. Like, listen, don't get me wrong. You can make millions doing this. Yeah. But like, if that's your sole focus, you're not, there's not enough of a drive in you. Like the passion is what fuels it.
Yeah.
You know, think of it like, like a pregnancy, right? Like your passion is going to impregnate that idea. I have this idea of doing something. All right. And then you infuse it with passion. Now that baby is forming. This sounds,
no,
you see what I'm saying though, you know,
sure.
like, yeah. So I think that the passion is what is going to bring it to life. And if you separate yourself from any expectation of an outcome, you're just in the moment. And before you know it, like some time has passed, you've established an audience. You care about it so much that you care about this audience. You're making stuff for them. You're communicating with them. You are authentic.
Yeah.
People know authenticity. You can see it even through a screen. When people are on there being fake, like people pick up on that.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I love what you mentioned about the root, because it's like your foundation. If your foundation is, I just love doing this thing for this reason, like there's a purpose behind it, and it's not like a shallow purpose like money. Like I love doing this thing because it makes me happy. I love doing this thing because I just enjoy it. And when your root is, I can do this thing with any resources I have. I don't need to have all these things to do it or all these things to make me happy. Like when you can create with pipe cleaners, then you can create with the iPads that you have as well when you're drawing your characters and animating your characters then, because it was always just about what I can do with what I have. So then even when you get more, you're still just going to keep doing things, and then it'll just naturally maybe look different or be elevated somehow. But even if it wasn't elevated, it was never about it being elevated. It was about you just doing it because you love doing it. So that's just such a good like takeaway for me right now is like, the root and the foundation is I'm doing this because, and then you have your answer there. And so no matter what, when you get more money, you get more resources, more equipment, more people involved, you keep that same heart. Like Steven Spielberg, even as a director, he was just being creative, doing whatever he could with what he had. Yep. He's still like this childlike director, like out here just having fun, making big budget movies, but still that same heart. So that's a great takeaway. And you mentioned consistency, and whenever I like talk to you or see you, I just feel like that's like just a word that's just over you. It's just, he's consistent. Like no matter what, Matt is consistent. We've been consistent friends. You've shown consistent character. And you've, and your consistency in like your work and your work ethic, I think we just have to talk about that a little more. You mentioned the pandemic. Yeah. I want to talk to you about two things. One, how hard of a moment the pandemic time was for you, and then how you came out of it. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the consistency of doing what you did to come out of it. I think people need to hear that. Yeah, man. First of all, I got to say I'm extremely grateful for Cornell during that time. So during the pandemic time when it kicked off, I was Postmating, and, you know, for money, I'm driving around like, I don't know if Postmates is even a thing anymore. I don't order Postmates because when I was doing that, I saw some sketchy stuff from some of the people. So I don't know if it's still around, but it is.
Oh, okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
And everybody who's Postmated food to watch this episode is now a little sketched out by it.
No, listen, I saw some stuff.
You've worked an array of jobs. Tell us about some of the jobs you've worked.
Before moving out to LA, I worked a ton of jobs. I've, a lot of call centers. My first early jobs were like, working at Del Taco, Pizza Hut, like, not to drop brands. I worked at a taco spot. No, I worked at a pizza spot. You can tell them it's Del Taco. Yeah. Yeah, but, and then just a lot of call centers, and even tried my hand at law enforcement and did not make it far in that just because I was, you just see a different side of life that I just personally don't want to see. Like we talked about, I like to focus on different things. So I was like, this isn't for me either. Even though seeing my dad in law enforcement growing up, is a great lesson, I was raised with values and morals and stuff. But anyway, I've worked a lot of different jobs. And then my last call center job before moving out to LA, I remember my supervisor was like, just telling me like, oh, you'll be back. I remember him telling me that, and he was like, yeah, I used to be an actor. I used to act with Hugh Jackman. And he was like listing these massive actors. Like, yeah, I used to act with Hugh Jackman all the time. And he was dead serious.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, but I just realized it wasn't for me. I'm like, bro, you were at the level of Hugh Jackman, and you mean to tell me that this call center life is for you? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, what are you talking about? Listen, maybe that is his thing. I just couldn't believe it. He's like, you'll be back. Like, he was just more dogging me about it. Like, he's like, you'll realize it's a tough business, very cutthroat.
Why is it always you'll be back? People try to push that on you when you go to like pursue a dream. I heard I was teaching at 5 dance studios before I moved out here. That's all I was doing, just hip hop choreography. And this lady, the studio owner at one of the studios I worked with, she was talking to another instructor, and she was like, "Oh yeah, he'll go out there for 3 months and wait some tables, and he'll be right back here."
Man,
you know what I mean? It's just, but yeah, because that's what her experience might have been, or other people's experience might have been that she knew. Because it is difficult to try and go into a place like Los Angeles, or simply to hold on to like this idea of I'm going to do this one day, because then life just happens and life starts to take over. And then you hit all these different circumstances where it's like, why are you still even pursuing this? And then you have everybody else's voices in your ear saying, what are you doing with your life? You know what age you are now. And like, you're still trying to do this. Like, especially running around making comedy skits for Instagram. You get to a certain age, you're like, all right.
And going through all of that stuff that you go through, and like you said, making comedy videos or being a comedian, going on stage, having to be funny.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even realize like what you're going through mentally, what you're going through in your daily life. Like, mentally, like, you're not even in a position, you don't even feel funny.
No.
And to bring it back around to 2020, when I was just Postmating, I was coming home with like, I remember I would drive all night. Just ruining my wife's car. I would drop her off at work, and she worked at this call center, and she took this overnight shift so that way I could like film and all this stuff. Like, so I'm like, okay, cool. So I dropped her off. I would drive the streets for a few hours until it slowed up around like midnight, 1 a.m. And then I would go and I would make a video at the house. I'd make a little sketch. And then, or I'd hit you up and like, hey, meet me in the alleyway. We're going to film a funny video.
Matt hit me. It's 3 a.m. Meet me in the alley. All right. We're just filming skits.
Just for free, And I'd make like $60 after taxes are taken out from the Postmates.
Yeah.
And then I'd go pick up my wife when she's off at like 6 a.m. We'd go home. She'd go to sleep. I'd edit the video. I'd maybe sleep for a few hours, wake back up, write a script, repeat that process. And then, like I said, I'm extremely grateful for Cornell during that time, because then when the pandemic kicked off, people stopped ordering Postmates for a bit there. Like, no restaurants were open. So I remember logging in, and I sat there for like 2 hours and nothing came in.
Wow.
And I was like, man, yeah, it was like so depressing. Or like one order would come in and it'd be like for a little $7 thing, and I'd have to drive across town. I'm like, man, I'm burning more gas.
Yeah.
So you have to make that like choice. So then Cornell was still making his sketches, and then brought me on board to film with you guys. And I was filming the behind the scenes, which you and me definitely were not professional on set. We're just
it's hard to be
around
anywhere with Matt and not goof around the whole time.
we were laughing way too much.
For sure.
But it made it fun.
Yeah.
And I remember you guys kept dogging me for my shoes. My shoes had a hole in the side. And I was always wondering, you guys kept dogging me. And I was like, guys, these are my filming shoes. Like, you have to understand, this is my filming outfit. These are my filming shoes. Those were the only shoes I had. That was it. The hats I was wearing, Cornell or Pat D. Lucky had given me. They're just their old hats that they would have hanging up. And they're like, oh, I don't want these hats anymore. Like, oh, I'll take it. And yeah, and I was always wearing just a plain shirt, because I could get away with wearing that same shirt, wash it, wear it again, wash it, wear it again. And no one knew. And I like, just the consistency. But yeah, like through that whole time, just being, depressed. Like, first of all, you don't know what's going on in the world. That had never happened before.
Yeah.
At least that I'm aware of. I don't know if the whole world's shutting down.
Not like this.
Yeah. And so I was already like freaking out and panicking and, trying to keep my wife safe, and all your thoughts of like, I wanted to start a family. All that's for sure out the window. Wanting to be an actor, wanting to make movies, TV shows, whatever. All that's out the window, because you don't know what's going on with the industry. I'm like, there's no way we'll ever go back. So I'm just depressed. I'm like, what can I do? But I saw online people, were already, I like to focus on positivity, but I'm not dumb to what's going on in the world. And I saw people, the marches, I saw what was going on, and I was very aware of it, and I had my opinions about it. And I was like, okay, what can I focus on? What can I control?
Yeah.
And I'm like, right now people need to forget about, they need to be distracted. They need to be entertained.
Yeah.
And So I was like, okay, this is when it's my time to clock in. So I couldn't meet up with everyone like before. Like everything was just slowing down. We weren't really filming like that. Mm-mm. So thankfully Cornell was paying me a little bit, but then I was like, okay, I'm gonna make my own content.
Yeah.
So I started making my own content.
I remember that video you made too. About
the one where I was talking. I said, I was like, guys, I feel what I say. I was like, it's my duty to like.
Yeah, you kind of feel like clocking in. Like I feel like it's a tough time for everybody, and I'm going to do what I can basically, and like, I'm going to make people laugh in this time. You felt like you, and literally it was like this like sense of purpose to me. When I look at it, it's like, oh, I got to do something about this. Like everybody's sad or feeling a certain way, and you were just like, I'm going to make content. I'm going to make content to make people laugh every day. And you've always been consistent with dropping content too, but like you definitely didn't miss after that. You were like, this is what I'm going to do. Yeah. I feel like this is what people need right now.
Yeah. And so that's when I put up that video just telling everyone like, I'm going to do my best to keep creating funny videos for you. Like I see this is what people need right now. And then I let that video live on my page for a bit, archived it. I still got it, archived, and then I just started filming the videos and drawing the cartoon characters in there. And, it did its thing. And now, as of right now, I have a little over 4 million followers on TikTok.
That's the humble squint when you don't want to just say it because it's such a big number. Got a little bit of, it's going to be a big thing to just drop out there. No, I got like 4 million.
Oh, man.
No, you got 4 million TikTok followers.
4 million and 2 million. 2 million. Almost 2.1 million on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's a solid audience, man. I appreciate them probably more than they know.
Yeah.
And just the fact that people would click that button to subscribe. And I remember I was with you in Cornell when I first hit 1 million. 1 million of anything. Like, that was my first, no, not 1 million of anything, because I'd hit 1 million views or whatever.
Right.
But like when I hit 1 million followers it was on TikTok first, but in my mind, that was a huge deal. And I was over at Cornell's, we were all filming, and I was right there with you guys. I was like, yo, guys, I hit 1 million followers. Like, oh man, you guys are like, yo, congrats. And then we were getting ready to film. And I don't know if I told you this, but I had a mini panic attack.
No.
Yeah, I had a mini panic attack when I hit 1 million, because in my mind, I was like, this is a lot of pressure. I'm like, there's 1 million people, whether they watch my stuff or not, there's 1 million people that are like, I like that. Maybe I might want to see it again. Follow or subscribe. So in my mind, I'm like, that's weight on my shoulders. Like I have a job. I have to entertain them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I had like a mini panic attack.
There's pressure that comes with creating content because you want to feel like you need to perform a certain way again for people, or like you don't want to let them down, or like, all right, you subscribe because you're expecting something. So now I feel like I need to provide that. I
would say more when you take it seriously, because there's a lot of people who don't care. There's a lot of people who will compare themselves to others and be like, yeah, I have 1 million, but there's this guy over there with 30 million.
Yeah.
Like, and you're shooting yourself down. There's people who do that and they're like, I got to get more. I take it so serious that even before 1 million, I was like, yo, I got this many followers. Like I treated every follower count like as if it was, in the millions, because I take it that serious. I love it. You chose to follow. You are telling me you like this. Like, okay, cool. Then it's my job to keep entertaining.
Yeah.
And keep trying to come up with fresh new ideas. And, even till today, like now I know the characters so well. And if you study writing, and if you study like, how to write for screen, then you can really start putting the characters in certain situations where how they're going to react off each other, and and build. You can tell a great compelling story every single day. It's a sitcom.
Yeah.
How long was Seinfeld or Friends on the air, or Martin, or Fresh Prince? Like how long were these shows on the air? How many seasons do they have? Man, The Office. I love The Office. But these are like things that's like, if you just break it down, in The Office, there's a supervisor, there's people in accounting, there's people in sales. And so do a show every day about this. Like, it sounds boring, but when you watch it, when you know the characters, you're like, yo, this, you can keep going. If you keep caring about it, I feel like they could have kept that going.
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, if Michael Scott stayed.
Yeah, if Michael Scott.
Oh, you're not there yet. You don't know.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, spoiler alert. I'm watching The Office right now for the first time. It's Chanel's favorite show of all time. So
and I just dropped a spoiler on you?
No, honestly, I think I've heard that before.
I was going to say, there's no way you didn't know that. Yeah. Don't worry, you got plenty of time.
Plenty of time. All right, cool.
Yeah,
it's good. Probably I'm assuming it's at the end. Then it's probably the end of the season. That's why they stopped. Yeah, that's probably why they stopped the show.
It's still, don't get me wrong, it's still good. It's just, again, going to characters. You know how characters respond. You know, like, which character is, like, strong. If you just know how to write for your characters, then you can keep telling a story.
And that's what you do with your content. So you have established characters. Would you call them cartoons?
Yeah.
Or animations? Yeah.
Animation.
So you have established animation. You have established animated characters, and you put them in different scenarios every single day for like 1 minute short form content. And then you do like a 3 to 10 minute, like longer YouTube sketch. And you put them in unlimited scenarios, and you post every single day the short form, every single day, which is crazy. Every single day he posts an animated comedy sketch.
Every single day,
at the
same time.
Same time.
Consistency. Every single day, same time. I usually give myself 30 minutes to an hour of like buffer within that same time, though, every single day.
Yeah. And then Sundays, you post a longer form content.
Yeah. So then Sundays, it's a different time. Sundays, I usually post in the morning as opposed to every other days in the afternoon. And then just constantly be ready to pivot.
So let's get into that real quick. We'll just touch and go off this.
Yeah.
But sustainability, because you've talked to me about that. I've had all these bright ideas, I would call them. I'm sure you'd say that some of them were bright ideas also.
I would not say they're.
I'm sure you'd probably admit that no. But you've told me, like, you know, this is a good idea, but can you sustain it? This is great, but can you keep it up? And I've had these ideas, but I couldn't be consistent with them or sustain them. Yeah. And so not everybody can do a 1 minute animated like comedy sketch every single day, but you have to figure out for you what works to keep this up. Like if you go to the gym, you know, at nighttime and that doesn't work for you, don't plan your whole schedule off of, I'm going to go to the gym every night at 6. Well, no, you get tired after work and then you're not going to do that longer than 3 to 5 days. And now you're out of your gym routine. You got to find something that works for you and something that you can actually sustain. Otherwise you won't keep it up. And so I learned that from you is what can I actually sustain? What can I guarantee I can do every single time? And that's why I'm filming these episodes now, because I can sustain it now and I can spread them out and I can like figure out how it works in my schedule. But I could sustain just audio episodes every week. That's a for sure. I can sustain posting Instagram clips every single day. I can sustain that. You know, you have to cut your content at night or in the morning and make sure you release it at a certain time. But sustainability, like I want to hear you talk about that just a little bit.
I think that goes hand in hand with discipline. So like you have to be disciplined enough to be able to sustain whatever it is you want to do. So you talk about, okay, I want to make this content. And I've already mentioned like do what you can with what you have. Okay. So then figure out your schedule and know where you can cut out. Maybe we live in a world now where there's so much content. You can scroll. For me and Brill we're talking about like, you can scroll and the next thing you know, it's just hours have gone by and you didn't even realize it. It's like, oh man, I've just been scrolling and that's it. If you can be disciplined enough to put your phone down, turn your TV off and make something, if that's what you want to do, whatever it is, whatever your art is, but we'll say, you know, make content because that's what we do. Then, okay, maybe if you realize like, okay, I haven't filmed anything, or I haven't done what I need to do, then you might want to be like, okay, I'm going to etch out this time. And it stinks because I'm telling you, that's a great show. So you don't want to miss out on that. So it's going to also keep you like on your game. If you want to have your leisure time, then you need to do what you have to do, but you have to be disciplined enough to, if you didn't do what you had to do earlier, then you don't get that treat. You don't get to watch that show. You don't get to scroll on your phone. Like you need to start like treating it like that. And that goes for everybody. But, you know, we just live in a world where we're so distracted. And if you can be disciplined, you'll be consistent and you can sustain. Because whatever it is you do, you have to build a foundation. It has to be a solid foundation. Think it through. Like, okay, this is what I do. This is what I love doing. I'm going to do it consistently. The more you do it consistently, and while you don't have an audience, when you have that audience, you know what to do. You've built up to this point. You know how to handle it. And then when attention comes, you know how to handle that too. Because you are so solid. You're on solid foundation. that you can't get rocked. Now, I've had people throw out questions. I've had people spam my comments. I've had people try to say stuff that just isn't true out of nowhere. And I'm like, where are you guys coming up with this? Like, I've had that stuff happen. And I don't think that that's the last time.
Yeah.
You know? But also I'm secure enough to know who I am and what I do, to the point to where it's like, that's something that I don't ever want to face. But if I do face it, I'm confident enough to where I can handle it, but also keep going, not get shook.
Absolutely. So I think there's like 3 pillars I'm seeing in this conversation for sure that I want to talk about, that I want to just like kind of summarize. The first one I'd say is the fact that the foundation and the root, you have a foundation and you have a root based off of your heart for the thing that you're even doing. Like, I love creating, you know, I got to do something creative in this space. And so no matter what I have, I'm still going to make sure that I'm doing something creative. So your root and your foundation is strong because the heart posture is pure behind it. Like, this is what I want to do. And then it's the discipline and the consistency to keep that up. You know, I can be consistent in this because it's sustainable. I can be disciplined because I want to do it. And then I want to talk more about the maintaining vision part of it, of where does your vision come from? Do you start off having the long run vision? Do you see a little bit and it keeps unfolding for you? And then why do you keep going after it though? Because a lot of people have vision. A lot of people start going after something. What do you get from it? I want to know, like, why would you keep going after something like that? Because many, and honestly, I would say we separate a lot of times, even if you talk about the poor and the rich, the 1% versus the 99%, you know, like if there's 1% of people only get to this level, it's like, what keeps you going? Like, what goals, what dreams, what do you get from it?
It goes right back to that passion. Yeah, I'm passionate. I love what I do. And so it fuels that. It just keeps me going. But a lot of people make the mistake. They'll have a vision. Oh, I know where I'm going. I know what I want. And then they start mapping out how to get there. All right, cool. This is what I have to do to get there. Or they'll look at someone else's story. Okay, I want that person's career.
This is good.
And they're like, okay, I'm going to get there like this. And it's like, that's where you start messing up. And you even talked about in your recent podcast, one of your recent podcasts, like the road in front of you, like, don't worry about the path to get there. You need to trust the process and you need to have faith and just know your end goal. And then just things will align. Yeah. Things will align for you. If you know your goal and if that's something you feel strongly about, you're going to do, it's going to align for you naturally. Now, everyone's version of success is different. And if your thoughts are, I want this, and if I don't get rich and famous, then I wasn't successful. You can be happy on the road. You can be happy on the way there. Yeah. Because once you attain those things, whatever it is you're going for, if it's, riches or whatever, it's just because living in LA, there's a lot of people who just only talk about riches as success. So that's where I'm drawing from. And that's not ever been the case with me. Doesn't mean that I didn't want it. Like, yes, I want riches in what I do. I love attention. So yes, I want to be the face of whatever I do, but I'm driven by something deeper. Yeah. That deeper, whatever that core is, and the core is the love for the craft and that passion for it. So that's what drives me. And knowing that, I know that if I continue to love this and I respect this craft and I'm passionate, then what comes with it, or what can come with it, is a life of luxury where I'm always thinking about the other people in my life. So I can create jobs for people. I can take care of my family. My parents are also aging with me. That's something that I've had to realize. And I think we tend to forget, like, for sure, I'm getting older every year. I'm getting older. I'm like, oh man, I'm getting older. And now I have a baby girl and I'm like, oh, she's getting older. And then I realized the other day, I'm like, man, my parents are getting older too. Yeah. And I'm like, I gotta look out for you, and not always doesn't mean money, but if I can, make good money with what I do and I can help you out, even if it's just, filling your gas tank even, or whatever it might be, like, that's the least I can do. You wiped my butt, Absolutely. Yeah. I owe you a little something. A little something, That's ridiculous. So, Yeah. So I don't know. It's just, I would just say, just staying passionate. I forgot, what was your question? I didn't went off. Oh, you said
maintaining vision, but why do you keep going?
Why? Yeah. The why is just, the love, the passion. It all roots down to love and passion.
Yeah.
Love for my family, love for my craft, passion for my craft, and passion for wanting to just see my family and my loved ones and people close to me, happy. I don't like the thought of too many people in my life have applied for jobs and been told no, or whatever. People have known like, no, you don't qualify for this job. And it stinks. And it's like, man, if I had a company, I'd hire you because I know what you're capable of. People don't know your thoughts, but I know you. I grew up with you. I know how you, that's just my thinking. I'm like, man, it's not fair, but also at the same time, like, it is fair. Someone else got that job who probably needed it. So it's like, okay, I'll create a job specifically tailored for this person.
That's good.
I'm just, yeah.
Yeah, you said a lot of good. A lot of good. I love how you touched on, like, sometimes when we're too calculated with everything, we actually screw it up. And there's a verse that says, many are the plans in a man's heart, but the Lord establishes his steps. And it reminds me about a lot of the books in the Bible, too. You see people who get called to do something and they have, like, God's calling them, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, this is who you are. And they want to try and figure out everything about the journey, and they run from it because they're like, I don't see myself like that. Like, Moses is like, I don't see myself as some leader, speaker, like able to do this thing. And God's like, this is who you are. Well, what happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? And you're trying to figure everything out. But then you take out the faith part of it because we all want to know how it's going to happen and where you're going to go. And also when you do that, it's not only is it all in your own strength, but like, you're trying to see what's already been done. So you're pulling from what's already been done. If I'm going to do this, it has to look like this because this person did this. And now you're carving a lane based off of other people that's not even for you. So that was never even supposed to be your route. And so I like how you can be less calculated about it and let God calculate it and let God lead you on that journey. And so it does take faith to believe in something that you can't see. It takes faith to keep pushing after something that isn't even giving you any results. Sometimes we're not even getting results from the thing that we're going after. We're getting maybe views, but there's no money coming in. There's no recognition. So why am I still doing this? Because you love it and you have a passion for it and you believe that, it could be something one day. But even if it wasn't something, there's still like your heart behind it, And I want to.
Well, I was gonna say, I think just our human mind in general wants to cut out, God.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
God and whatever, especially here living in LA, a lot of people will, whatever, the higher power or what do people all say? Universe, whatever. I grew up in a religious household. I believe in God. But even if you don't, there's certain things that you just can't ignore. Yeah. The fact that there's a higher power at work with you. And people who choose, no, it's like, all right, you could deny it all you want, but there's something there that you can't ignore that's like within you, that's always operating with you. And when you tap in, you acknowledge it and and you're in communication with that higher power that we know, that we identify as God. That's when you start firing on all cylinders because you have that open line of communication.
That's good.
You accept that, like, okay, you know what? I understand what's going on here. So I'm going to walk in faith of what I want to do, of what I feel, in my heart that I should be doing that fuels me. And all of a sudden you're going to start noticing some stuff that's like almost otherworldly. Like, man, these coincidences just keep lining up. These things keep happening, like, Jalen, it doesn't even make sense for you to still be living out in LA.
Absolutely not.
But there's a ton of things that have happened in your favor because what you're driven by, your passion and your love for what you do, that you've been out here for like 8 years doing this. You're still in this field. You haven't had to wait tables and then run back home and be like, oh, I'm done. Not to knock anybody who does, but you mentioned someone said that's what would happen to you. No, like, that's not what happened. Yeah. And again, your journey is your journey. If that does eventually happen, trust the process. Okay, trust the process. Don't lose it. As soon as you give up on that dream, that's when it's done. Yeah. And it doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just that higher power is in line with you. So I want this. Okay, yes. All right, let's align these things. And as soon as you say, no, I can't, then yes.
You also took away. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not that God can't do it or help you do it. It's, do you believe that it can actually happen? You know, I like how you said he's in line with you, because like we're getting aligned. We get aligned with his plan. He has a plan. And then it's like, okay, but you got to believe to even get there. Mm-hmm. You can't. So you have a lot of people, you know, and I've seen this a lot in the church, and this is what I've always wanted to not do, is because you can get a word straight from God. You could feel this thing. Like, I know I'm supposed to do this thing. God told me to do this thing. I see this thing, and it could never happen. And it's not God's fault, because a lot of people in the church, you growing up, you know, it's 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, but God told you, you're going to do this. You're going to be that business owner. You're going to have a clothing line. You're going to have this ministry. And you keep saying, you know, God's going to do it. No, he's looking at you. After a while, what are you going to do? Are you going to like make steps towards it? Are you going to like actually work towards it? Are you going to believe it's possible? Are you going to go through the process? And then people blame God when stuff doesn't happen.
What's the scripture? Faith without works is dead.
It's absolutely dead.
My mom used to always say that to me. My aunt used to always say that to me. Like, you know, and it's like, okay, well, if you want something, then you work toward it.
Work towards it.
You know, the pieces will fall in order. If you're doing everything you can, truly, you can't lie to yourself.
Yeah.
People, I think they confuse, because they lie so much in today's world, that you think you can lie to yourself, but you can't, because in your heart, you know, if you did everything you could. In your heart, you know, it feels like if you cheated a little bit today and you were like, oh, I didn't do it. There's no right or wrong. It's just like, you know.
Yeah.
So if it's like, man, I really busted my butt today, not just busy work. Like, I busted my butt. I worked at what I was passionate about. I felt the passion as I was working. I felt that drive and that excitement. And then when I looked at the final product, I was excited. You know, like, you know, and then you feel exhausted from that.
Yeah.
You know, if you worked hard, you know, if you actually did what you were supposed to do. And then, you know, you can watch The Office. Or scroll on your social media, you know, like, then you can, you know, you deserve that treat.
The biggest Office fans I know are literally all in the room. Like, literally, all have Office gear and everything. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
From my girlfriend to audio to Matt.
It's the greatest show. It really is.
I didn't stand a chance. I was eventually going to have to watch it because of everybody here. Like,
man, the first 7 seasons, just undefeated.
Undefeated. That's hilarious. It was interesting you mentioned, because you've seen it up close, and I actually want to hear a little bit about it. Maybe it's mainly for the audience, but I do want to hear it as well through your lens. Yeah. You said it doesn't even make sense for me to be here at this point.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't. All I know is when I felt God called me to LA, he said, you will never need. That is what I felt so clear, like, you'll never need. And I didn't know a lot of scripture at the time. I wasn't even the most faithful walker or believer at the time. I was a faithful believer, but I wasn't really walking it that well. But I just felt you'll never need. And so I had this faith of like, I'm going to go out there and I'm not going to need. Like, God's got me, because all my family's praying, and, you know, I grew up that way. You know, my family's Christian and very strong in it, and they all love Jesus. And so they've always, that's my foundation for sure. And so there was this scripture, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack, I shall not want. And so I just knew, like, okay, the Lord's my shepherd, he's taking care of me. I'm not going to want, and I'm not going to need. And so I came out here knowing there was purpose for me, and I didn't know what it was going to look like. And a lot of people, you know, were like, okay, you need to go out there, get this job, get that job, do this, do that. And I was like, I had these jobs in Omaha. I feel like God called me here for a different reason. I was kind of stubborn in that. In the beginning, because everybody's saying, you know, get a job at Starbucks, get a job right here, just get a job. Don't go out there and just sit around for it. Because, you know, it was a couple months of me being here, not getting paid to do anything, just trying to figure out connections and what am I even going to do with film or dance or whatever. And we got into this townhome, me and like 7 roommates, because that's what you do in Los Angeles. And we were sharing all these different rooms, but we had to pay rent soon, and I didn't have any money. And it was one day before I was supposed to pay rent, and God provided a job and I paid rent, but he did that month after month after month, and it's not stopped. I just want to hear a little bit about that from your eyes too.
Man, it's crazy, because there are some things I just can't explain.
You've seen, you know the context, everything.
Listen, yeah. And very similar to you, man. Like I don't know what it is. I think everyone can have experiences like this in their life, but man, I got so many of them. But when my wife and I were getting married in 2019, we got married. We had been together for 11 years, but we got married in 2019 and we just were like, we're just going to run and go do it. We didn't have a big wedding. We just went down to a little chapel. And this was around the time I was postmating. I didn't have a lot of money. My wife would not let me apply for a job because she believed in me that much. She's like, she was working a full-time job and she would not let me apply for a job. She was like, no, I just believe in you. I was like, that's insane. And I appreciate her so much for that. I was like, I got you. Don't worry. And now, thankfully, she doesn't have to work anymore. And, she can do whatever she wants with her time. I love it. She's a great mother. Yeah. Like she's an amazing mother, an amazing wife. Like she handles everything. But
amazing cook too.
Man, phenomenal cook. That's why I'm spoiled. I can't go to restaurants out here. Yeah. If it's not sushi, because she doesn't do sushi, right? I can go to a sushi restaurant and be blown away. Yeah. Any other restaurant, it doesn't matter. My wife can cook anything and she cooks it phenomenally. Her mom, her sister, and her 3 best cooks I know. So yeah, but anyway, so right before we were getting married, I just remember going to bed the night before. She was at work and she took the car. And I just went to bed like sad. And I just remember like crying because I was like, I can't even give my wife a bouquet. I just wanted to get her like a bouquet. I was like, I was really trying to think. I was like, there's people on the side of the street who sell flowers. I was like, I could try to scrounge together like $5. I was like, I have to get her something. I was thinking of bushes I could pick flowers from because she's very appreciative. I could give her a bunch of flowers I picked off bushes and she'd love it. It's about the meaning, right? Yeah. But I was like, man, I can't even get her a bouquet. And it was bothering me. So I was like, whatever, like it's okay. I just said a little prayer. I'm like, listen, I'm thankful that she's even with me, that we're doing this. And like, thank you. So I went to sleep and I woke up in the morning and she's like, you're never going to believe this. You're never going to believe this. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, you got a residual check from a commercial you did 3 years ago in the mail. And I was like, what? And I'm like, yo, a few $100s? No, it was a $6,000 residual check. I was like, oh my God. I was like, what? Yeah. Oh man, when I tell you I started bawling. I bet. I was like praying, just saying thank you. Like I was like extremely grateful. That's something I can't explain. Yeah. I literally can't explain it. I was just like, what? Like I hadn't gotten a residual, especially a $6,000 residual. Exactly. During that time, I'm struggling and like, have a couple $100s in the account. Yeah. So I went, deposited the check. And thankfully it was a Wells Fargo check too. So I banked with Wells Fargo. So the money was available. Through. Yeah. So I was like, man, I'm swimming in the money. So I went and I got her a bouquet, like whatever. I was like, give me the most expensive. She loves the color yellow. So I got all yellow roses. Nice. And they were like, this is going to be a bit pricey. I was like, it doesn't matter. So I threw the card on the thing. I'm like, that's it.
You see my commercial on TV right now? It's fine.
Yeah. So I got her the bouquet, raced home. We ran down to the chapel. We got married real quick. Wow. And then we went to the beach, danced on the beach. I just put like a headphone in her ear, one in mine. I think it was like AirPods. And we just danced to our song at the beach, went to this cupcake shop and we got little cupcakes. That was our cake. Yeah. It was beautiful.
It's the greatest, man. I've always loved you and Jada's relationship and like romance and the way you've done things. I've always loved it. And it's been so pure and supportive too. Like just the way you set that up, like you'd be shooting skits, she'd be working and like you would still try to make something out of nothing. And she was always appreciative. Like it's beautiful.
I remember one time she was like, we were going through it, man. And there was this one time where she was upset and I was upset and we were just like, she's like, when's it going to happen for you? Like like she didn't, it was just one of those like heat of the moment things. And she's just like questioning, when's it going to happen? I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. She's like, it's been 5 years. Like, I just don't, and because this was
like, dang, it's been that long.
Yeah, like, and this was around the time when we're seeing all of like people in my circle, just various degrees of success and and income and things like that. And I was like, man, I don't know. I was like, it's been 5 years, but I was like, I'm prepared to go another 5 more if I have to. And she was just like, I don't know if I got five more years. Like, I don't know. And I'm like, I understand. I was like, but I just know what I know. And then she was like, yeah, you're right. She's like, you're right. And after that talk where it's just like, I just know what I know. That's it. People use different verbiage for it, right? You say, you feel a calling, or you hear God talking to you, or whatever. That's not the verbiage I would use, but just because it's not the verbiage that I would use doesn't mean it's not the same thing, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Like you feel a calling, and I just always call it like a knowing. I just know. And I'm given something that I know, and that's just all it is. So my thoughts are, and I don't share that with everybody. There's certain things in my mind still that I know, things that I've seen that have happened that I've just been like, I just know.
Yeah.
And then it's happened. I'm like, wow. This is one of those things, it's like an intimate thing between you and God, you and the universe, you and the higher power, trying to speak for whoever, because I know you already know there's people who are like,
when you say God, they squint.
Like
they cringe a little bit.
You know, like I tell you, know me. You know, I was raised in a religious household, so like, but I need people to understand, like, you know, because verbiage is just, you know, just a big deal with people. So it's like, okay, cool. Whatever your verbiage is, there's things you just can't deny.
Yeah,
and I just feel like I'm blessed to just have like a knowing, whatever that is, and then when certain things happen, you know, like make specific prayers. Like prayers are not even a bad thing. Dr. Emoto did studies where he like meditated over water. I hope I'm not quoting this or whatever, but I'm pretty sure it's Dr. Emoto studies where he like meditated over some water and then analyzed the water droplets under a microscope, and your thoughts affect that, right? So he meditated over water saying, "I hate you. I hate you. I hate you." Right, and then looked at that one, and the crystals were like mangled and ugly. Then there's one that's like, "You're disgusting, you disgust me." It's mangled and ugly. Then there's one that's like, "Thank you, I love you." The "thank you, I love you, you're beautiful." Crystals are beautiful, perfect looking, like water crystals. And
it's like speaking to plants. People have spoken to plants like mean, and the plants die.
Exactly,
Spoken nice and it's grown.
And that should let you know there's power in your words, there's power in your thoughts. And you know, and when you're praying, I don't think there's nothing wrong with praying. I don't care what you believe in. Pray. Like, have that time, whatever you consider praying. Think. Think to yourself.
Have that thinking time.
Whatever. But whatever it is, like, ask something specific. I'll ask some wildly specific things. And then you just might surprise yourself.
Absolutely.
Get specific. Don't tell nobody. Don't talk to anybody else. Let it be a weird moment between you and whatever you believe. But let it be that weird moment of like, oh, this is kind of like, it's like a good creepy. Like, that was very specific what I was talking about. But again, let's go to authenticity. You can't lie to yourself. Yeah. That higher power that's working with you, you cannot lie to. You can't. You can try, it doesn't matter. But that is also you. You can't lie to you. So if you're in there and you're like, I want this because I believe in world peace and I want to see everybody happy. And you're just, don't pray like you're on the news and you're giving like some politically correct speech. Say your prayer, be specific, feel, even if you have to talk for a while in your mind, talk to yourself for a while till you get right down to what you feel. Right down to whatever it is. Boom, lock in on that. Whatever it is you feel, be specific, and then now walk with intention. Do what you're going to do with intention after you just did that. And just watch that.
That is interesting to think about, even like praying honest prayers, because you can't lie to yourself. Like, that's probably not the top of your actual heart. You know, I just want to see world peace, even though it's a beautiful thing to pray.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I like that, being authentic in your prayers. And yeah, you know, I like how you touched on that because, you know, obviously we know what we believe in, and, you know, there's a lot of people who believe different things, but like, just having a better thought life can change your life. Having a better way of like speaking can change your life. You talked about just being positive.
And just like with anything, with like, we see this light here, but we wouldn't even know what light is if it wasn't for darkness. And vice versa. We wouldn't know what darkness is if it wasn't for light, right? Like, so you need that opposite side. So yes, be positive, think positive. Have your one or two confidants or people that you trust, or even if it's just in your prayers where you can vent. Get things off your chest. There's nothing wrong with that. Get that off. Feel that emotion. Don't become that emotion. Yeah. So, okay, feel it. You're going to feel frustrated. You're going to feel angry. You're going to feel upset, depressed, stressed, whatever it might be. Feel it. Okay, don't become it. Give yourself a moment. And allow yourself time. Give yourself 5 minutes. So 5 minutes is a long time. Talk to yourself, whatever it is. Like, give yourself time to feel that. Like I said, 5 minutes. 5 minutes is a long time if you truly just shut off everything and you sit for 5 minutes. You'll be surprised. And then you might be like, like give yourself that 5 minutes to just feel whatever that anger is. After that, now be intentional to work through whatever it is. Okay. All right, cool. Let's work through it. Trust. It's just like even with your plan, like, oh, I want to be this. I want to achieve this. Have that goal. Don't worry about the road to get there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling this emotion. Okay. I want to feel better. Focus on feeling better. Don't worry about the road to get there. Just focus on feeling better. You're going to start doing things that's going to make you feel better. And that's stuff that's what I tell people, but that's also what I want people to tell me even.
Yeah.
If I'm stressing and I'm going through it, I want people that are there to tell me, hey, bro, like pull it together, like it's okay, and tell that help you to focus on the positivity.
No, yeah, that's so powerful. And even we can end right there just on stillness, because I think, we feel a lot of different things. We go through a lot of different things, but we aren't still enough to know where we're truly at, or to know what to do with those thoughts, to know how to, like to be, and that's obviously like in my prayer time when I'm talking to God, it's like, all right, God, search my heart. Help me know where I'm at, because I don't know where I'm at. I just know I feel this thing. Yeah. And then you sit still and you think and you let God like reveal to you like, oh, you're actually feeling this because this happened or that happened or this happened, and you can kind of trace a little trail and know why you're that way. And then like you said, don't become it. Yeah. You don't have to partner with it just because it's something you feel or just because it's something that's happening in your life or your heart. Like you can focus on just being better, getting out of that by focus on being and focus on who you are and not just that little symptom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I do want to wrap up. Think of like what you want to wrap up on, but there's something I wanted to touch on when I was mentioning like the Dr. Emoto studies and linking that to prayer, right? Uh-huh. There's something I just wanted to touch on that, because talking about like your mind being powerful, your thoughts being powerful and all that. When you think about even praying over your food or over your liquid, if your thoughts affect even water like that, or like just, at the microscopic level, if your thoughts are affecting things like that, then think about what it does to your body when you put that into your body. So you pray over food, you say, thank you, I love you, I appreciate you, I'm thankful for this. That intention going into that, this is even proven in quantum mechanics. Like on the quantum level, things are being affected. Things make a choice just based off of you looking at it. Mm-hmm. So that's even proven with science. Right?
People don't think it's that deep, but it is scientifically that deep.
And yes, like this, and it's a real thing. So if you're supercharging your food and your water and everything, like think of what that does for your body. Yeah. It's a good thing for your body. Like it's just, and so on the micro, also on the macro. All right, be specific. Like literally pray, have intention, think, and then be passionate. Fuel whatever it is you're asking for with that passion, with that love, and things will align. Don't worry about how. Don't worry about what's on the road, what's in the road, whatever. Don't worry about that road. Look at that goal, have your faith, and then and start working.
Absolutely. That's it right there.
Boom.